afternoon. It's 3:03. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In your packet was the consent agenda, which include the agenda itself and the minutes from the regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any citizens' comments? Any citizens to be heard? And we're no longer doing the YouTube or we're not online anymore, right? We don't.
They will. I believe we are being broadcast on the City of Erie website still.
Okay.
So yes.
But it's not interactive.
No.
Okay.
We do have a Zoom option, and they're creating that link for us. But
I see.
If we need it, it'll be there. Otherwise, it won't be utilized.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Snippert. Okay. On to the finance report then.
Okay, in your packet, you have the year-end profit and loss and balance sheets for the year ending December 31st, 2022. Moving forward for your next statement that you'll get in 2023, we are going to have a budget versus actual report now that it's all combined into the new QuickBooks.
Perfect.
It is showing on the balance sheet the total assets. Well, actually, the total bank accounts are $10,882,218.94, combined with the current properties that we have of $629,645, for a total of $11,517,721.68.
Any questions on the balance sheet or the operating statement? And just by way of reminder, these are the unaudited statements. We'll go into audit sometime in the spring.
Yes.
With the expectation of an audit report by June 30th.
Yes.
Perfect.
That is correct.
All the right answers. Perfect. and thank you for doing the comparative going forward. Then that will be a big help for us as well. I'm sure that will stimulate some additional conversation, which is all good. So hearing no questions, is there a motion to accept, or did we do that already? On a roll.
No.
Thank you. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Snippert, we'll turn it over to items D, please.
All right. So you have a rehabilitation report through December of last year. Not much has really changed. December's a fairly slow month for the authority and contractors with all the holidays and such. So we're still moving forward, working through LHRD projects, healthy homes projects, soliciting for additional contractors to help facilitate that work, trying to identify some CDBG projects and kind of get all of that work lined up and in queue for the spring so that we can hit the ground as soon as the weather breaks. We are fortunate that we do have some decent weather right now, so some projects are moving forward that typically wouldn't. Along with the county CDBG and the County Act 137, all of those are still working through. So that's about all I have as far as the rehabilitation report. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
And just reading through this, I noticed we are having problems with contractors. Any reason for that? Can you figure that out? Or?
Over the past few years, it was always hard. The private market was strong as far as private individuals wanting to rehabilitate their property. So every contractor we had reached out to, was booked out for a year or so. It was hard to get them to break loose. In the last month or so, those efforts have been a little bit more fruitful. A lot of contractors are seeing the private market dry up as far as people wanting to invest and pay the inflated rates right now. So, our government funding is still there, and so it is helped to utilize that to attract a couple contractors, and we're still going to work for that.
Any sort of public advertisement or anything that we're doing at this point?
Yeah, We reached out to multiple different organizations, groups. We have some flyers up at the local home centers, the building supply houses. We've reached out to those salesmen at those businesses to, try to get them to drive their contractors to our programs, along with multiple different organizations within the city of Erie that, we've passed it out to people to get the word out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Mr. Sniffert's report? Thank you. Solicitor's report.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here at 3 o'clock instead of 4:30. I've provided you within your packet the memorandum with regard to the updates. There are no updates with the appeals with the Commonwealth Court on those 3 properties. We have filed the petitions on the 24 properties. Those hearings are all set for January 17th. We have not received any objections to them or counter proposals to our valuations. It's in front of Judge Brabender. I don't anticipate that there's going to be any questions or problems. Aaron and I will meet beforehand and go through the process, and it should be pretty straightforward. There is one gentleman who's been moved from Mercer County to Erie County, so he's going to be there. So that's going to be the only interesting take on the whole thing. And we've also filed the declaration of taking on November 21st for the next 12 properties. So we're working on and confirming service, and then if we didn't effectuate service, we can proceed with publication or other means. So we're working through that process right now. And then I always want to provide the board with a breakdown of the real estate transactions that have been completed or are in process, so that you can see what progress we're making. And in fact, the very last one you'll see that was to Bethesda Lutheran, that actually closed this afternoon. So I have a closing statement and a net proceeds check for Aaron on that one. So with that, that's all I have.
All right, any questions for our solicitor? We appreciate you. It sounds like we've got forward momentum, so we appreciate that.
We do, so we're just going to keep right on rolling, straight through 2023.
All right. And Aaron, any general updates?
All right, so just a few general updates. One, the statement of financial interest that Cynthia gave you as board members of the Redevelopment Authority. We need to have that on file by May 1st, so if you could complete that and get a copy back to April so that we can have that on file.
And we still have an electronic
Yes.
way to file these electronically as well?
Yes.
And you'd like, if we do it that way, then you would still like to have...
We'd still like a copy for our records.
Hard copies.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Last week, we met with the Erie County Department of Planning to discuss the whole home repair application to the state of Pennsylvania to draw down that allocation of, I believe it's $2.7 million for the whole home repair. Strategized on how we would structure that within the county, given that the Redevelopment Authority already administers the housing rehabilitation services for Erie County, and how we would kind of divide that up amongst county residents and city residents. So put some thought to that, and then we're working on some costs and going to put together an admin breakdown for the county on top of, typically we receive $2,500 in delivery on a county project, but we do have the ability to draw off some of their 4% and 10% admin for that program. So we're going to put together some administrative costs, get that back to them, so that when they're ready to put in their application at the end of the month, they have those costs for that program.
That sounds encouraging.
Yeah.
And then our RACB grant, I'm trying to get back in contact with Robert Ayub, our consultant for that. EMTA has kind of fallen off again as far as getting that information. So I'm going to work and hopefully have the board a better update for February. to hopefully we can get the EMTA segment 3 closed out and get moving on segment 5. I'm not sure if EMTA had some funding fall through, but we haven't met in 2 months. It's kind of they keep pushing the meeting back, and we're currently not scheduled. So get a better update for the board next month. And then lastly, I met with Erie County Community College right before the holidays, working with them to see about getting them certified to perform lead abatement certification training within our area. You know, our only trainers available to us for that certification is basically in Pittsburgh. There's really a desolate area here in northwestern Pennsylvania as far as that training. So going to meet with them here in the next few weeks, provide them some contacts for people who do perform that training so that hopefully they can get that curriculum on board and hopefully have it so it's a little bit more affordable for us and that we can have it on a more regular basis than we do right now. So working for that to hopefully help us with the whole contractor issue, get us some more lead abatement contractors and build that capacity. So that's my update for today.
That's really good.
That's really good. Any questions? Any more? All right. On to unfinished and new business. Item E1, CDBG funding request.
All right. So every year we have to put in our request to the city of Erie for CDBG funding. We don't, in years past, we don't have a resolution for the amounts. We basically put in our request, and once we're awarded, then we have that resolution later on. So this is just a housekeeping resolution to permit me to submit the application. I'm going to meet with Deb hopefully here before the end of January when it's due and kind of discuss that and see where we want to go with that given some of the financial issues we've had in the past and a lot of the other issues we have right now with contractor capacity and an abundance of other funding streams that, you know, facilitate the same amount of, or same type of rehabilitation with less federal regulation. So we're going to work through that, but I'd still like to have the ability to submit that application by the end of January if needed.
Does the city know what their allocation is yet, or?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I know it fluctuates each year, of course.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a motion to accept your resolution to submit the 2023 CDBG funding request?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the resolution?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain or nays? Hearing none, motion carries. All right.
The next is for our 457B trustee plan. Right now, as well, the position that I had come into, there was a lot of turnover, so we had a lot of additions and removals of co-trustees on there, and the most recent one that I found was that Aaron was the sole trustee for our 457B plan. And for checks and balances or dual control purposes, we feel that it would be prudent to add a secondary person on there, which would be myself. So we were asking for a motion to have Aaron Snippert and April Decker as co-trustees for the 457B account.
And does our auditor also audit the account each year as part of their audit engagement, or no?
No, that's a separate investment company that we use.
But there is a fiduciary out there that does that. Okay, perfect. All right. There's a resolution in our packets. Is there a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Alvesa, thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. And then the third item is the Redevelopment Authority and Erie Land Bank Management Agreement. I think we've seen this before. Is this new and improved?
From last month, and Chuck is aware of why this is, and I'd hope to have, so Redevelopment Authority Board approved the management agreement. The Erie Land Bank Board did not approve the agreement. They requested an exhibit with costs associated with the administration of the land bank. Really, they wanted salaries. And so since the land bank meeting, we've been going back and forth, April and I, to try to figure out what would work best for the authority, given that, you know, this is structured to be a 5-year plan, and then any exhibit that we would put in would be current salary structure. And, you know, how would that work, you know, given that it just renews every year? And so I'd hope to have an answer and an exhibit for today, but we haven't quite got there. And so the land bank meeting is not next Monday due to MLK, so we have 2 weeks to get that exhibit together. So, you know, if there are any thoughts as far as that goes that, you know, we could, you know, put into the exhibit, I'm open to that. But, you know, the hope is that I will now have the exhibit for the land bank board for their next meeting here in January, and then this will be back to the Redevelopment Authority Board for approval in February with that exhibit that they have requested.
Okay. So the agreement itself will remain the same, it's just there's the big exhibit A, which will,
Yes,
which
yeah,
will have some budget and/or costs.
yes, some type of cost, probably with some asterisks and that give us the ability to make adjustments and changes to those as market conditions and times change. I mean, I don't really, you know, want to say that, you know, we're not going to add staff or such, and I can't pin prices to that, what I don't know, so.
All right, well, thank you for the update on that.
Yeah.
And then we have a little teaser that you gave us over the weekend, and that's the industrial blight acquisition. I could barely sleep all weekend just wondering what that was all about.
Right. Tina Mangine from the Erie County Redevelopment Authority had reached out late last year. They're looking at some property up off of Raspberry. I believe it's the Riley Stoker industrial site. It's about 6 parcels of land. It's been vacant for some time. There's some interest from a local business owner that wants to expand his business and build a warehouse, but he's currently landlocked by this property. And then there's some other uses that they feel that it could be utilized. There's different reasoning, I guess, behind why the current owner will not sell it, but there's really no motivation for them to do such. So Tina had reached out for us to look at doing industrial blight eminent domain acquisition on these properties. So I just wanted to discuss that with you as the board, make sure that you were comfortable with us proceeding down that road. The thought behind it, and talking with Tina last week, is that really the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Erie would acquire the properties through condemnation and then transfer ownership of the properties over to the Erie County Redevelopment Authority for them to facilitate as part of their work in that east or that West 12th Street corridor.
Questions? Mr. Halberstadt, you must have a question. No.
I don't. I mean, I have some familiarity with this. I mean, and there is someone who wants it badly, and I understand that the reason the seller doesn't want to sell is because it was contaminated, it was cleaned up. I'm not sure it went through Act 2.
Okay.
But it's a large entity, and their position is we just don't want to draw any attention to the property by an environmental investigation by a potential purchaser, and so we're not going to market it.
Okay, and a transfer will likely trigger that.
Right.
Any concerns about, and I'm assuming the Erie County Redevelopment Authority doesn't have jurisdiction in the Erie city? Is that right? And that's why they're asking us to do that then?
And they will do an environmental investigation, and they will do cleanup. They've got both some state and some federal money that they could apply towards a cleanup if it's necessary.
Okay.
Sorry, Jake, when you said they.
The County Redevelopment Authority.
Okay, so they said they will help with the cleanup.
Generally on these, they do the cleanup, and then they turn it over to the private owner. And I anticipate that's exactly what would happen here as well. They'd complete the cleanup, they'd get the Act 2 clearance if it's needed, and then they would transfer the property to the private owner.
Yeah, these are vacant properties. There's majority of percentage concrete slab on most of the property, but there are no structures, so, you know, pretty much environmental brownfield remediation is about all that these properties would really have for them at this point.
Any reason why we wouldn't do that work prior to the actual sale of the property?
Wouldn't do which work?
The actual cleanup.
They will, but I mean, the County Redevelopment Authority will clean them up once they obtain title to them.
Okay,
And then they will transfer them.
okay. So it's prior to title.
prior to title being transferred to the ultimate owner.
Yes, okay.
And redevelopment authorities, from our standpoint, under state law, have an exemption from potential environmental liability for properties that they acquire and dispose of for us personally. So the fact that we're going to be in the chain of title, own it and flip it, doesn't create any liability for us.
It's very helpful, thank you. All right,
All right.
and you'll keep us posted, and then,
Yeah, we're going to begin, we met last week, we're going to start that whole process of getting those going, so.
yeah, okay.
Is there any type of contract or agreement that you would enter into with the county redevelopment authority? What's the process like for that?
Yeah, we mentioned that briefly with Tina. I said we would circle back after our discussion today, that we would enter into some kind of cooperation agreement that they would finance our cost, and then ultimately we would transfer ownership over to them.
Do we earn a developer's fee from this process, or similar? I think that's where we're all going with that one.
We'd have to look into that.
Okay, understood. It'd be worth mentioning.
Right.
Good luck. So, all right, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So that closes out item E, and then on to the other item E. We can, are there any other business?
The only other thing I would like to suggest is I'd like to schedule another study session with the board
Sure.
to discuss the loan programs under the American Rescue Plan, and just so that we can kind of walk the board through some of the concerns and other issues that we have come up as we've started to try to develop these programs, so that we can hopefully get some of them on the board agenda in February and get some of them out to the public a little sooner, but some of the thought and purpose behind some of them may have to be revised a little bit, and we may have to go back to the city. But I was looking at maybe the first full week of February. We can circulate some days and times and see what fits best for the board, if that is agreeable.
Okay.
I think it's necessary at this particular point, because we have obligations behind us to meet the expenditures.
Yes.
You know, so,
Yeah.
It's helpful, at least for me, to get kind of the workings back in my brain a little bit, just with the programs. Because I think many of the programs may have morphed a little bit from some initial thoughts, which of course is going to happen. So,
Yeah.
So we really look forward to that then.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get some
So
dates
you're
out.
thinking late afternoon again, or 3
Yeah,
o'clock-ish?
thinking about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, either maybe a Tuesday or Thursday that week would probably work best.
All right, that sounds good. Anything else for this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen? Is there a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and we'll see you in early February then.